Hello, and welcome to my first look at the Portugal civilization for Civilization 6 Gathering Storm. Portugal has been gone for a long time from the Civ 5, so it's good to see them included again. And we're just going to go back to the beginning of the video here and see what they're all about.
João III leads Portugal in Sid Meier's Civilization 6. King of Portugal in the 1500s, João is known for using shrewd trading practices rather than open warfare as a means of conquest.
Okay. Is there going to be something where like trade routes give you military bonuses beyond having a trading post giving you increased diplomatic visibility? That would be interesting. Like if you get so much trade with a city, you could like take it.
Portugal's unique ability, Caça da Índia, significantly increases the yields of international trade routes.
Okay, that's cool. So we're going to see international trade routes getting you a lot of good with them. Okay, maybe not conquering, but just getting lots of yields, which, again, just getting you the yields will let you do better.
But limits those routes to cities on the coast or with a harbor. This ability also grants trader units additional range on water and the ability to embark on water tiles as soon as they're unlocked.
Okay, my thoughts on this is twofold. Is that, okay, you get those increased yields, you get increased range, you can immediately go out and do trade routes on water. But you're limited to international coastal trade routes. And international trade routes are just so good for generating gold, especially early. They become, a staple of getting your gold up early. So playing them on a Pangea map or even worse, a Highlands map, just the fact that if you were on a Highlands map, I don't know if you could trade with another civilization. Do any international trade routes, and that includes with city-states, because city-state trade routes are considered international routes. So I'm kind of worried about, Portugal from that aspect.
Portugal's unique unit, the Now, is a naval melee unit that replaces the Caravel. It starts with 1 free promotion, requires less maintenance than the Caravel, and has 2 charges to build Feitoras. These special shipping ports, unique to Portugal, grant additional gold and production from trade routes to that city. A feitoria can only be built by a Now naval unit on a foreign coastal tile next to a luxury or bonus resource.
Okay, well that's kind of cool, is that you give someone else a unique improvement, so you build it in someone else's territory, which is really cool. They better have some feature like not being removable so other players can't get rid of them. But that could be a really cool idea. I also wonder if the Feitoria could like serve in place of a harbor. If you have a non-coastal city with a Feitoria in it, could Portugal still trade with it because they could run through their Feitoria? That would also help compensate against it. I'm a little worried about it only being available through the Now, which is a caravel replacement, because eventually caravels go obsolete and are replaced by ironclads. So there's a narrow window for you to get these units. So if by the time you get, around to ironclads, if they just can't be, used anymore, then suddenly, you could find a new civilization, want to put up a Feitoria there to start trading with them, or a new city that they have, and you just be unable to. So I'm slightly worried about that, since that trade seems to be such an integral part of it, and the Feitoria feeds into that. So if you just have this narrow window to go out and put out Feitorias, I'm a little worried.
Portugal's unique building, the Navigation School, replaces the university. It increases production towards naval units, increases science yields based on the number of coastal and lake tiles within the city's borders, and grants additional Great Admiral points. João's
Okay, so the navigation school here. I'm a little underwhelmed by it being a university replacement when we look at other university replacements like the madrasa, which gave a bunch of faith and got unlocked much earlier. The navigation school just giving 25% production towards naval units is, it's okay. It's not great. A little bit of extra science for every 2 coastal or lake tiles. Okay, that's okay. That I see there in +1 great admiral points. Oh, that's also okay. This would have been, I think, a much better as a library replacement. If it was a library replacement, I'd be a lot more excited about this. As a university replacement, I find it a little lackluster. Because universities come late enough into the game that that little bit of extra science from every coast and lakes is just not quite as much as you would think in the +1 great admiral point is okay. But great admirals just tend to not be that strong anyway. And then again, that plus military, naval production bonus, that really only matters if you're going for a heavy Navy game. So it's situational. And again, it comes late enough that first you've got to build the university. It's got to be in a coastal city with enough production. And I'd be more worried about plugging in the card that gives me bonus production towards naval units than the actual navigation school bonus. As a library replacement, it would, be available much earlier, really possibly jumpstart an early naval game because you'd just be able, in combination with the card, to get 125% building when production is tighter. So that bonus may be even more important, and to start getting great admiral points off a library that much earlier, maybe even before you've unlocked a harbor. Now that's interesting, and then that little bit of extra science, that would actually make it strong. So I would just, the navigation school as a university replacement, meh. As a library replacement, it would be incredible. And then again, also when you think about the secret societies mode, getting rid of the navigation school, you could have a navigation school or an alchemical society. I can't think of a situation where you wouldn't want the alchemical society over the navigation school unless you were going for a naval domination, and in your main naval production hub you wanted the navigation school instead for that plus 25% production bonus. Okay. Then the now unique naval melee replacement replaces the caravel. That's fine. Free promotion and 1 less maintenance. That's also perfectly fine. 2 charges to build Fetorias. That's also fine. Again, that the Fetorias can only be built by the now and can't be built by builders or military engineers later on is kind of a problem. So they provide +4 gold and +1 production to the tile they're on. So getting it built in your territory is not a bad thing. Then all of Portugal's trade routes get that same bonus for each trade route. So you give it to them once, you trade with them multiple times, and you definitely make it up. Can only be built in adjacent to luxury bonus, so it's already limited. Other civilizations that you have open borders with must be built on a lake or coast tile, not adjacent to another. That's perfectly fine. Cannot be removed. Okay, so they cannot be removed. That makes them a bit stronger. But again, it's just that limited time window to put them down. They're perfectly fine building in replacement. I just think you need to be able to have them for a bit longer. It's kind of the same way I feel about Georgia and their wall replacement. Is that when you get steel, you can no longer build walls, so you lose the ability to build it, and there's no compensation for losing that ability. And this again feeds into Portugal's trades ability. So the +1, all units +1 sight, that's nice. +1 trade capacity when each civilization is met, that is very good. Open borders with all city-states, that's useful. Also helps you get the Fatoria in, so you don't have to become suzerain of them first. That's all perfectly fine. International trade routes can only reach cities with a coast or a harbor. That's very penalizing, but receive 50% towards all yields. That's good. 50% range over water. Okay, so the Casa to India, I see at best as neutral, and here's why. On an average game, because the strongest city of a foreign civilization that you may want to trade with that give you the best yields may be inland, which means you can't get to it. It's not going to have a harbor. It's not going to be on the coast. You can't trade with it. Therefore, you are forced to trade with the weaker cities of that civilization, and therefore that 50% bonus makes up for having to trade with inherently weaker cities. And the trading over water, since you can't do it over land, they're giving you additional range to be able to actually get to other cities. Okay, on a continents map, or a archipelago or island plates map, these people will be fine. You start, again, if you put them on a Pangea, or continents would even be difficult for them starting off, or a Highlands map. What are you doing? Why are you playing? Now that doesn't mean you can't win on that kind of map. You would just have to play very differently, and you'd have to play a very particular strategy, probably around internal trade routes. But I'm just the way they've built Portugal here is their best bonus is basically the +1 trade route capacity per civilization. That is very strong. But other than that, meh. Because of they're built around trade, but they've got so many restrictions around it too. It's just they kind of balance out. And then as far as being another science civ, their navigation school is just not that good. That it really doesn't catapult them over to a science civ category. Maybe a naval domination civ, but they all want to do trade routes, and you can't trade with people you're at war with. So I find the Portuguese a mess of contradictions in their strategy style. Not that they won't be interesting to play. And not that, it won't be, fun to have all those trade routes and try to build them up and get there. And if you're on a, naval map, a map where naval is, strong, that they won't be strong. However, I see kind of like the closest competitor, would be like Indonesia. And Indonesia gets the science bonus based on district adjacency, which also helps feed into cards. The navigation school doesn't feed into those policy cards. So that, science advantage is there. Indonesia can also faith purchase its naval units, and it generates faith just by having cities on the coast or lakes. So, you got that there. And then they have, instead of improving other people's water tiles and sending trade routes to them, Indonesia just improves its own water tiles and gets nice bonuses off of that. So, and that's easier to do. So I'm just at the point where I'm like, not that strong of a civ, but not terrible either. This is not like an unplayable civ or a civ that's going to totally make you have to do something completely different. I just don't think it's strong.
His unique ability, Porta do Circo, grants all units increased sight. It also increases trade route capacity whenever Portugal meets a new civ, and provides open borders with all city-states. Start the game by exploring a lot, and try to meet every civ as quickly as possible for free trade route capacity.
That is absolutely correct. That trade route capacity is your best advantage. You'll want it early.
Since Portugal can only trade internationally with cities on coast or with harbors, be sure to prioritize naval exploration. Further supercharge your trading with lots of alliances and policy cards like Triangular Trade and Wisselbanken. Once you build a navigation school, start cranking out now units for Fetorias. But plan carefully, because Fetorias have strict placement restrictions. Will you journey beyond your shores to share riches from distant lands? How will you lead Portugal in Sid Meier's Civilization 6?
All right. Well, that was an interesting look there. Maybe, again, as I said, if you wanted to really make Portugal a strong civ, you make their navigation school a library instead of a university. And maybe I give their traders some protection against being pillaged on water if you want them to go out there, because if you, again, are on a naval map, there's going to be more, piracy out there, and that's just going to create all sorts of problems. But anyway, I want to say thank you very much for joining me and listening to my impressions on Portugal for the Civilization 6 New Frontier Pass, and be seeing you.